Hello, Zach. How are you?
I'm
Another
Granby. Granby.
another Thursday,
At least
another
that's what we
show,
make people believe.
or Friday when
Maybe,
we release it.
maybe, maybe it's Saturday. Maybe this was done last year.
You never
Maybe,
know.
maybe, maybe. Okay. I want you to think about this for the next few days.
Mm.
Over under commercials with Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl. 1.5.
I'll take the over.
Okay.
I think if the line was at 2, that would be a tough one.
Oh,
But yeah, I'll take the over at 1.5.
I wonder if there is a line for this. I mean, he's in a lot of commercials. I think it's actually the under.
Yeah,
Yeah. I maybe even 0. We'll see. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know.
Favorite day of the year coming up in a few days. So, well, a few days and a few days. Yeah. Today we have a repeat guest
Yeah.
who is a woman with a purpose.
So
Love,
the
how's it
T-shirt
going?
says,
That's
yeah.
Shout out to my friend JT Taylor of Purpose Pushers.
okay. You didn't say that part before, so there you go. JT Taylor, Purpose Pushers.
Yeah.
I dig that. You know, I'm a big fan of shirts with attitude, if you will.
Oh, well, then you'll love the one that says Captain Sage-A-Ho. I wear that one the other day.
There was a lot of we were at an event together last night, Zach, and there was a lot of the yeah, there was a lot of attitude in terms of the dress. It was a cool hip vibe. I felt somewhat out of place because I just don't feel like I was representing as well as everyone else was. But it was a great event.
We can change that, Tim. We can change that.
Well, yeah, so it was
Your
great to see you.
creativity is inward.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there was a lot of creatives there. It was cool to be part of that. So, what was your breakout topic? What did you end up talking about? This was
Ooh. So I have my questions. Actually, I can pull my questions up, but basically, I picked. Can you guys still see me?
yep.
Did I go? Okay. So basically, we talked about. I want to pull up my questions so that I can be accurate. But where they at? Here we go. So the questions that I asked were,
See, they said that.
memorized.
Well, so for me, they said that we could just go off and do our own. We didn't have to follow any questions. So then that's the path that I chose. But
I see.
it was
yeah. So I kind of deviated a little bit too. But I did choose from 2 of the questions that they gave us just because I wanted to make sure that I had a direction because, the breakout session was new. I didn't learn about the breakout session until like the day or 2 before. So I was like, okay, so this isn't a panel where I can choose to speak or not. I have to speak and I have to listen.
right.
Cool, no problem. But I did not prepare for that. Still no problem. I love where this is going. So I went ahead and picked 2 questions and then just kind of curated them to fit how I wanted the conversation to go. So one of the questions I asked is, what innovative remedy can entrepreneurs propose to support and uplift local and regional businesses through the use of technology? And if so, where do you start first? And so we kind of went through a bunch of different ideas and things that we could, I guess, kind of starting at the core, which is, okay, so what are the issues in this space to begin with? So we said, well, networking and, what was another thing? Networking, figuring out who the who's in the pyramid, what businesses are doing currently, and just kind of curating all those things to get into, okay, so we have those things now. Let's narrow down the focus so that it's like, how can we create, I lost my train of thought. How can we create kind of a model for businesses to use with technology involved? Go ahead.
No. I was picking up what you were putting down. So, like,
Yeah.
what were some of the responses? I thought that. So for my group, we just started just talking about just the region as a whole and what the goals are of where we want to go with the region. And yeah, I find it, I don't know, I learn more from other people than I'm sure other people learn from me, but I like to learn from other people, and it was a good conversation. But a lot of things came up just in terms of, how do we deal with public transportation? How do we deal with affordable housing? There's a lot of different things we have to tackle in order to continue to push the region forward.
Right. So because I mean, and people, I found that people were super passionate about a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And I felt it hit home for a lot of people. So I pulled up I had a whiteboard. We were like,
yeah, you were going to town on that thing.
Oh man, it was so much fun. So, all right. So we talked about, as far as it pertaining to innovative remedies that entrepreneurs can, to support and uplift the businesses, regional businesses and local businesses. They mentioned collaboration and boundaries, celebrating differences, networking, and we needed to kind of like bring it all in because those were very fundamental things that we can do. But we needed to bring it in. So we talked about space activation, which is what we were doing yesterday at Assembly. We were activating that space, bringing people together in a huge way. And that was like the best thing that, that we kind of came up with for, innovating. As far as the local businesses are concerned, even if it's a company that isn't kind of like out there, activating their space with open houses or bringing different dynamics into the space. So like merging the creatives with the technological aspect, that was like huge, because I find that those communities actually cross paths a lot, because you do need a creative, side in order to know kind of how to develop the technology. And then one thing that I really honed in on was understanding that we are first the technology. Before technology existed, we were the evolution. So we have to understand that we are the brains behind the technology, and we create the ideas. We come up with the ideas, and technology just curates those ideas, whether it's AI or creating a new tool that is useful in business spaces or in residential everyday spaces. Whatever that technology is, that we are the first technology that comes up with those solutions. And then we build tools to kind of accommodate those ideas. And then another thing we said was identifying the problem, so which we did. And the problem is that there's not enough space activations, or there's not enough merging of different diversities within the industries that can kind of cross, like the creatives and the technology. That's a merging of diversity, right? Is like you're diversifying this industry so that more people can tap into it and continue to expand it in a really amazing way. And then circulate within the network. So a lot of the times we have these big tech companies and tech hubs coming into this space, and we are not being used as the people to, like, they're bringing outside entities to help build up these spaces, like the Amazon building that's coming to Virginia Beach at the ocean. That's a huge project. One thing I do love about that project is they are looking for small local businesses who have a very well curated business in place. They're looking for those to work with those businesses at a really like amazing capacity. And so that is that's one way to solve the problem of okay, not having so many outside entities coming in and doing the same thing that already exists here, but circulating within the network of resources that we already have. So one, it keeps the dollar tight here. It helps our local businesses that already have those that already has the capability to work on those projects, really like helping to collaborate with the different businesses and build like a circuit of people who are already doing big things and who can already do solve the issues that are in place. Are y'all following me? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, I've been trying to think. Like, what has it been? A couple of years since you were on the show last?
I think it was
I meant to look
last year.
Last year, I'm just like curious in terms of like if you've seen progress, or have you seen progress since you were last on the show, and what does that trajectory look like for you, or is there still a lot of work to be done
in this area?
Yeah,
progress. I don't know, because my metric, how I measure progress and how other people measure progress may be very different. So like Zack and I just had a conversation backstage where he was like, hey, thanks for not lasting on me about asking those questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that's progress. My progress is, hey, you know what? I don't need to blast on you. I know that you're coming from a place of curiosity. I know that
right.
you are like, you just want to know what the next step is so that I can understand you a lot better or whatever, like, you know? And so I think there's just like a mutual thing between myself and the world where I'm just like, hey, I see progress as, oh man, we're thinking about these things. That's progress. Even if we haven't necessarily acted yet. Oh, okay, we're thinking about these things. It's what's the term? And I just had it in my head a week ago because I was using it nonstop. But it's the term where you're thinking about thinking. What is that?
Paralysis by analysis?
No.
Maybe
that's an adjective. Maybe that's a synonym of the word. But it's I can't even think of the word, but it's like thinking about thinking, right? And when I'm processing progress, I'm not thinking about how big the progress needs to be in order for me to say that it's progress. I'm thinking about, okay, so we reached that step in progress. That is progress, right?
Yeah.
Metacognition.
Metacognition. That's the
Look
word.
at that. Wow.
Didn't know that word existed
Zack,
until today.
Zack, that might be your like the greatest moment of show's history right there. I mean, you wow.
You can thank Google.
Thank you, because I was like, I can't Google this right now. I'm talking, but thanks, Zack.
It looks like December of 21 is when you were on the show.
Okay.
Oh wow, that was
so over 2 years, 25 months ago.
Wow.
Still, according to some, deep in the heart of Coco, you know. So.
Coco, you're the second person that calls it Coco. That's cute.
No. I'm the first. Someone else stole it.
Oh, see, you have to get on. Yeah, all right, cool. You got it. So yes, I've seen progress. Yesterday was progress. I mean, Yesterday, I'm not a tech genius. So in that space, I had to really consider who I was. Who am I here? Who am I here in this space? Why am I here? What am I looking to do? What's the outcome? Like, I'm running down all the processes of, okay, love, this is who you are here in this space. You are the person who is like, this is what everybody's doing that are experts in this realm. And you are the person that wants to help other people whose language you speak to understand why this is important or why these people are here today gathering. And I was glad to have such a diverse group of people in my breakout session, because there was like a pottery girl who works with ceramics. There was like a ton of developers. And then there was like a music manager, and it's like, there was a band director. It was like everybody was so diverse, but they were there with one common goal, and that was to gain knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. And like,
So
that's progress.
Yeah, something that I used to talk a lot about. Love, you were in it. Tim obviously heavily associated with it. And what I'm hearing out of this is, I think the old standard of stuff was, the way you grow a community, the way that you see economic impact is by going out there and what I would call whale hunting, where you're recruiting a big company to come into your city and it recruits jobs. And I used to flip flop that and say, well, instead of trying to, because someone was like, oh, well, all we need to do is recruit 4 companies with 1,000 companies, and that would fix the area. And I said, well, what if you flip flop that and you helped, start and grow 1,000 companies get to 4 employees? Some of those would get to, stay at 4. Some of them would close. Some of them would get to 40. Some of them would get 400. Maybe some of them would be, like the SVTs and the drone ups of the world and get really, really large, like the instant teams of the world. Right. And what I'm hearing now is like, there's a lot of these companies, and Tim had said earlier before we pressed record that normally he knows about the overwhelming majority of people in a room. Last night, he only knew 5% of the people in a room. And so it sounds like there are still, which is great, a ton of people that are interested, wanting to start, expand, grow, to meet, to network, to do all of these things in that sphere, and to keep feeding off of that concept of it's okay to have a crap ton, 1,000 4-person businesses, and to really celebrate that diversity of something that is unique. I always thought that was a selling point in the region, to be like, hey, like there is a lot of businesses that no one has ever heard of, and that's a good thing. But if we can celebrate them collectively, I heard a stat that Tim was trying to work on collectively last night. I don't want to steal his thunder and say it, but like, it's like when you look at all these things together and say, well, there's a lot more than you think, and we embrace that and make that the thing, I think that can be very, very, very powerful. And it's not just, oh, here's this big business that can afford this big, this this large building, put their name on the side of it. Just because you don't have that doesn't mean that you're not successful. Doesn't mean that you can't make an impact. Doesn't mean that people aren't seeing you. And I think that can be a powerful collection, a cornucopia of craziness. I'm just over here, thinking about my metacognition, thinking about thinking. And I don't know where I'm going with that. It's just like, hey, like that having that aspect of a bunch is a selling point. And I don't know if we've ever actually embraced that concept in that way.
Well, the thing that was cool for me was that because generally I'm around more of the tech side of the house. So to see that many on the creative side was really, really eye-opening and very cool, because I knew that I certainly knew we had a creative side to Hampton Roads, but to get a firsthand look at it, and a small, I'm sure that was just a small sampling. It was really, really cool, and I hope that we can do more of that.
And it's interesting because I was on the creative side, but I also feel like I'm kind of in the middle of both the tech and the creatives, because I more so would like to merge the worlds together versus being one or the other, right? And I think that's kind of the lane that a lot of people are driving in right now, is they want an outlet for creativity, and they also want to be able to identify specifically with something more than the other. And so we run into this, like identity crisis, where we're like, are we more creative, or are we more, well, you don't have to be either. You can just be interested in, you can be a creative, because there were some creatives on the tech side. And then I'm sure there were some tech people on the creative side. right? But they leaned more one way than the other because of their identity that other people see, you know, or
We
their
don't need to
outward
box them in.
identity. Huh?
Don't need to box them in.
Right. You don't need to box them in. And that's like the Kiara was like, why do you have 2 name tags? I was like, because I couldn't make a decision.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny. Like, I mean, like, what would you expect, right? So they had the way it works, Zach. There was different colored name tags, and each color represented the sector that you were in, and so there was a lot of crossover. And like, so you had tech, creative, support.
I don't even remember the other one.
But in typical fashion, like.
See, I wouldn't even know how to like categorize those things. I would think I'm all 3 of those things.
Well, and right. And so like what happened was when you have like a bunch of disruptors in the room, you know, the thing that they did was they had 3 name tags representing all the colors that they felt that they represented. So
there you go.
It didn't take long for that to happen, which was pretty neat.
Raise the roof.
And I actually think I was the first one to do it. Because I was like, I don't want to choose one. I want all of them. And then I saw one lady, she was like, I'm going to do that. She picked up like 3 name tags. I mean, you know, but we gave Kiara options, you know, when it came to having her pick which breakout room we were going to head up. She, you know, she had options. But
we had her on the show, right, Tim, a few weeks ago?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, you know, I didn't feel any shame around that. I was just like, okay, you choose. You are the facilitator of this.
Yep.
I am here to just not box myself in too much. But again, I had to identify who I was in this space because I tend to cross over. You know, I'm like a bookworm. You know, I like reading. You know, I like diversifying the mind and books. You want to know books? Okay. So
no,
the first
I want one book. That's only one book. Only one book. You get a one book.
This one? That one?
Whatever.
It has to be this one.
That's right.
You know what?
No. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's that one? No, I can't.
Show the whole damn thing. I mean, get the whole thing on the screen. We need a screenshot, you know? Come on. Yeah.
So yeah, and look, how to finally stand out from the crowd, right? A lot of people, we did that last night.
Good.
We stood out.
Good. Okay, so I don't know if you know this, Tim, but a second location has opened for you guys.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I walked by it the other day. Yeah. So, when you decided that you want to be on the show again, like what was your reasoning? What did you say? Like, hey, like I want to get this out. Like, what was I want to tell the world about this type of thing, or did you just want to hang out with the 2 coolest people, you know, on the internet?
Actually, Lionel was like, "Hey, I was actually invited." Lionel mentioned it. He was like, "Hey, you want to be on a podcast on the 1st?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then he told me, I was like, "Oh yeah, I've been on there before. Cool, let's do it."
Okay.
So I guess it was a middleman. But I don't know. So this year I have been thinking about my stance in business. And over the last year, maybe 2 years, I realized that I've been collecting a lot of data about my business. And so I've been really tapping into this business psychology as it pertains to the workplace and growing and, you know, who I want to grow into for my business. So yeah. That's
for the new listeners, just talk about your business for 10 seconds. What is it you're doing?
Sure. So I own CLTRE Vegan Joint. It is a Zach, what are you doing?
He's counting you down 10 seconds.
That was your 10 seconds.
I own CLTRE Vegan Joint. We have 2 locations now. One in Virginia Beach, one in Norfolk. The one in Norfolk is our satellite location inside of Selden Market. Currently, it is an incubator market where businesses who are either mentor businesses or businesses who are just starting can come in at a lower rate and be able to grow their business.
I heard great things about the vegan bacon yesterday.
Oh, the coconut bacon?
Is that what it is? Some of it, yeah, some of it was.
We
Well,
talked about that last time, Tim, and you wanted nothing to do with it.
No, but I was just saying though. Last night, Paul Nolde was like, "Dude, that bacon is like amazing."
Hold on, wait. Okay, at my location, not the bacon that was there yesterday.
No, yeah, at your location, yeah.
Okay, because I was gonna say there was bacon there yesterday, but it was not my bacon. That was Kip's bacon.
Nope, your bacon.
It was meat-based bacon.
That was, yes, pork-based bacon. I had the little potatoes without the bacon, but yes, they had pork-based bacon. So we have been in business for 6 years now, going on 6 years, and we have really become a I wouldn't say household name just yet. I won't be that egotistical about my business, but we have reached many households. And we really focus on being creative, really bringing out the exotic in people. We hone in a lot on giving our employees opportunities to grow and also offer things that they may have that they want to expose to the world as well, whether it's a product or maybe they want to feature an item, a food item, and we test it out and see how it does. So we are really focused on like the organizational side of it, as well as like presenting well to customers and just kind of being a space where people can come and try plant-based, but there's no pressure to become plant-based or vegan. You are there because you want to experience a vibe, you want to eat good food, and you want to support an establishment that loves their community. So we do a pay what you can menu every third Saturday where we offer an opportunity for people to come in, try out a whole menu that's not our regular menu, and they get to pay as little as $3 for each item. So that's our give back to the community. People either save the money or they pay it forward for someone else to be able to afford it.
Can I ask you a question about money?
Sure.
And food? Okay.
Yeah.
I know that you're not the biggest joint. And what I mean by that is like you're not buying at insane numbers and quantity and scale and stuff like that.
Right.
But when you look at some of these restaurants and the prices that they're now charging for certain things, where is the majority of that markup coming from? Because like I was talking to Chef Chris Hill the other day about, he brought up Five Guys or something like that. And I was like, it's crazy that if you want to go to Five Guys for two people, it's about $40. And I came to the conclusion it was about maybe $4 worth of food for that. Because you got your bag of fries, which is like 10 cents worth of potatoes at that scale. And then maybe $3 for a fully loaded crazy cheeseburger, right? So to have a markup of $36 in that case, like where are these numbers coming from? Why is it so ridiculous? Is it just, what are your general thoughts on that? Maybe I'm wrong on the Five Guys price, but I had a guy who's run restaurants agree with me, so I'm assuming I'm right on that. Like it just seems like, are they just saying F you to the customer? Like why are those numbers so ridiculous? I saw a Taco Bell ad the other day that said now it's a $3, less than $3 menu, and I'm like, okay, like this used to be $1, now we're 3x that. Like, is this just the new world? Like, why is it like this? What are your thoughts?
So depending on where the business started out pre-pandemic, and this is just my philosophy, I'm not backing it up with any hard facts, but all observation, research on my end. But however, wherever they were pre-pandemic, and then let's say their margins, let's say Five Guys margins were, I don't know, maybe at 30%, 40%. Like, whatever their margins were, I'm just throwing numbers out there. And whatever their bottom line, whatever that went up to, or wherever that went to during the pandemic, they were not going to sacrifice the crazy profit they were already making with their margins. They were not going to adjust that for the purpose of like saving the customer money. right? So they already had some crazy good margins or whatever. We're already making a lot of money. And if their bottom line of whatever it costs to make that product, if it was going up for everyone else, then it was their reason to go up as well. Even if they did have room in their margin to not go up. They don't care about that. That's not their goal, is to, so, and if it's trending that everybody else is doing it, so then so can I, right? For us, yes, we went up on our prices, but we did keep it at, at a very, at a level where it's like, we know this is still affordable for people, and we're gonna have to go up because our bottom line is severely affected. But it's not just the bottom line that went up. During the pandemic, guess what else was going up? Wages, right? Like now they're telling us that we have to pay, and not, granted, it's the restaurant industry, so we can, shift how we pay our employees. But if you want to be a good employer, then you need to make sure that your people are actually, taken care of, because that was an industry that suffered a lot during the pandemic.
So is it less food, more wages is what you're getting at, you think?
Well, I would say that it's more of the overhead costs that were really going through the roof, because even, for us, we ended up having to take our wages, I think it started at like, the minimum was like 11, then it went up to 13, and then now it's at, I don't know, I haven't done the, whatever. I gave all my people a raise anyway. But establishments weren't willing to sacrifice going up on wages. If they did have to, they were going to raise the prices, and that was going to be a cost for the customer. And so, I'm going to say that that overhead, everything just flew through the roof. And again, if your margins were already good and you were okay with that, then you're not going to make less money because they're inflating your bottom line. You're going to move with that inflation so you can keep your profits high.
Yeah. And I think to that point, like, people continue to pay. No one's really pushing back yet. And as long as people are continuing to pay and not push back, then I think the boundaries will continue to get pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember when they were doing those daily press conferences, they said, food was essential, and that 45% of Virginians, which all three of us are, were eating out every day, or 45% of meals a day were eaten, at restaurants a day. And so that doesn't surprise me that people aren't doing it. I feel like they have to, I guess.
Well, when your grocery bill is as much as your restaurant bill, what are you going to do? I mean,
It is. I'm all about people making money. I'm not saying that. It just seems like, seems a little wild,
Some places are taking advantage, and then other places are, because you think about like the places that are gourmet or like super gourmet, they're very, kitschy, whatever. They are the places that are like, well, I have a brand to uphold. I have, a certain like, value that I want to place on my product and my establishment. And so this is what I have to do in order to keep that value there. And it's a psychological thing, right? And it's all a hack of the mind. It's like if I go up on my prices, then my customer will think that I have to maintain, like, that my value is higher than the competition's. And people are very health focused, and they're very on, well, what's the best product that I should put in my body right now, or that I should put on my body, or that I should, use for my home, or whatever, cleaning products and things like that. People are very health focused right now. So they're willing to buy, that $5 all-purpose cleaning solution that has vinegar and water in it versus the, the Clorox jam that has all these chemicals in it for $2. It's a psychology.
Zack skimps out nothing on cleanliness.
Good. I'm not saying that I'm not a proponent of buying these all natural products. I do. I don't buy the chemicals because I feel like if it's cheap, but here's the other part, right? Is I could also make them at home, but I don't. So I just go buy that price. I just pay that price. I am a victim of the psychology of the price and the product and the value formula that they have in place.
I think I touched a door yesterday. Tim?
That's why you weren't at the event yesterday. You
Yeah, and then you immediately hit the hand
sanitizer.
sanitizer.
Sure did.
I have been doing that too. I mean, I wipe all the carts off. Even if I wipe them off, I still wash my hands when I leave the store. I told the girl the other day, she touched my money, and then she was about to make my drink, and I said, "Can you wash your hands first?"
Was she good? Was she comply? She was okay with it?
She, like, at first she was surprised I asked or that I was even paying attention, and she was like, "Oh,
I'm pretty sure
no
that's
problem."
I'm pretty sure that's what you're supposed to do.
Oh,
It
for
is
sure.
what you're supposed to do. I tell my employees, you go to the bathroom, you wash your hands in the bathroom, you come out the bathroom, you go wash your hands at the wash sink too.
Well, I appreciate that.
Not everybody opens the doorknob with a paper towel.
I get it. Oh, I had something good that I was gonna say.
Did I hit all your guys' points though?
Oh, you know what's crazy though? Like when people are like chewing gum and making your food, you're like, that's not legal.
Yeah, no chewing gum in the workplace. Not around food, because you got people that smack. Their lips are too big, so they can't close them all the way, and so you got.
Why are you talking about people's lips like that?
You got it. What? I'm just saying you can't close your lips all the way, whatever. I'm just saying I've seen things and I observe, and I'm just like, hey, your teeth are already too big for your mouth. You already have a surplus of spit going on. Now it's going to my food. I'm not you gotta fix that. There's certain things that you can do yeah. So that's just how I feel about it.
I was glad that I saw. I'm just glad I saw Zach yesterday. After this conversation, it might be a while before Zach leaves the house again.
People, how often are you people watching like that? Because it sounds like you're part of like the people watching team.
Oh, all day. I'm one of those people where I'm talking and observing at the same time. So people think I'm not paying attention, and I'm like, oh yeah, but please don't. You said something earlier, Zach, that I wanted to kind of touch on. You said that there's a lot of businesses that you don't know exist. And you were like, it's nice to put everybody in this, in this space together and work or whatever. And there's this quote that my mom used to say growing up when she was talking about paying her bills. She used to say, as long as I owe you, you'll never be broke. and I was thinking about how, and I don't even know how good that quote is or not. I felt like it was more just like, I don't want to pay this. I don't want to do this. Like, let me just, I'm not going to pay you back your money. You'll get it when you get it, whatever. But if you turn it around in the positive, right, there's opportunity there to kind of pull these businesses out so that they can get their owances, and their hard work and kind of get, be paid off. So I just wanted
to Tim and I believe talked about this yesterday slightly. And I've like, it's hard to put a number or like a goal around certain things that you're not controlling, right? And what I mean by that is like regions will say, oh, we want to do this thing. And it's like, okay, but you're not the person running that business. So it's very difficult for you to set goals for a thing, for a business when you're just the city that it lives in. So you really have to just think about, okay, what kind of conditions can we put, this type of thing in? And maybe there's a way that we can, strategize to get all of them in a room together, like last night or something like that, like things like that. So like my whole thing is always, it's hard to come up with goals that you have no real say in and can't really do much to fix. And so it's I think every region in the world probably has that problem because they think, oh, we want to be this, but it's like, yeah, well, you really can't you don't control that because you're not, it's like, Love, if you want to open 5 locations and someone's like, well, I really want her to open 5 locations. It has nothing to do with whoever said that. It has to be you own the business.
Right.
It's your decision. Right. And so if you want to expand and become this huge thing, that's your decision. No one else's, other than partners in the business. And so it's something interesting, but just go back to what you were saying. Yeah. So like it's putting people in the room and trying to figure out that aspect. I think it's challenging because I think people want a more prosperous area, but it's like, it's a difficult thing for the people raising their hands and saying the things.
Well, like Tim said earlier, is he felt kind of out of place, right? Because so many, he's usually around tech people, and he was, so we have to crack people's shells and put them in spaces where they can see themselves and then also see differences so that they can come out of that shell. So there was a guy who was in my breakout, and he was like, I'm a super, and you could tell in his body language, he's like, I'm a super introvert. I talked myself into coming here. It took a lot.
Really?
But if he hadn't have come, he wouldn't have been able to break through that, primordial shell.
Yeah, it was super low threat, and it was a great thing. And I certainly, I was comfortable. I definitely was not uncomfortable. It was just something that, for me anyway, that I just haven't been in a room that I had typically. I've just been running around in the same circles, I guess, for so long that it was nice to be in a different circle. And everyone was super welcoming, and it was good stuff.
Low threat. I've never heard that line. That's interesting.
I like that low threat. It really was a low threat environment. I mean, people gravitated to people who they didn't even know because it just felt so right. It felt really right. I mean, they say typically in networking environments, you gravitate to the people that you know. And of course that happened. But then there was also a knowingness that you had with everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was the leaders of that space who made it feel like you can, and again, leadership. That leadership component is important. You need the leaders of of whatever organization, company. You need those leaders to have a understanding of people.
Well, when you think of networking, right? A networking event. So on the surface, that's what last night was, right? I know that to a lot of people, that's probably what it was, right? This is a networking event, right? Yes, there are workshops and other aspects of it, but ultimately, it's people coming together that you don't know. Mm-hmm. Number one, people are afraid to get out in a lot of cases, right? There's I'm going to have to give my little elevator pitch, right? And then what I know historically of networking events is this thing where a bunch of suits are there. It's uncomfortable. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to go up to someone. And so that can be a very challenging situation for people to go to, just for some of those little aspects that I just mentioned. And it's letting them realize that, hey, not every networking event is what you think is a hurdle to get over, even if you are introverted or extroverted.
I want to kind of bounce off of that, and I'm going to go a little bit left field, but I'm not even going to talk about politics in that manner.
This is a no politics show.
Yeah, no, we won't talk about politics, but I just want to mention, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about how Donald Trump has disrupted the political system so much that the people who want to be as fancy with their political language and all that, mumbo jumbo that used to exist, you can't even go back to that anymore. It's been disrupted at such a high rate that you might as well just grab a beer and have your debate right in front of the camera. You know what I mean? Because you know, and so I think that's the culture that we're in just in general, right? Like even yesterday, the host, we were all on the panel. We had our beers, we had our waters, our seltzer water, you know, our sparkling waters. We had our wine. We, you know, had our books. We had, you know, like our phones. Like it was so casual. The culture was just like, it was just different, right? And so when you have that experience, it's hard to go back because it's already been disrupted. That clean suit, you know, that, oh man, like I can't wait to take this fucking bra off. You know, like I already took one clasp off. I can't wait to get in my car and take the other one off. Like we're sick, like, you know what I mean? Like, God damn, these boxers are tight today. You know, like we're done with the discomfort. Like we're freeballing it now. You know, we don't, you know, and that look is cool, and that, you know, that experience is nice sometimes when you want to get into a certain mode. But for people who don't necessarily want that for their lives, there are spaces now that are curated for those experiences. And I know people who won't step into environments that don't fit who you know, their identity. And so I like that. So there are, you know, and that's okay. I think that that's so needed, and we can't go back. It's hard. We've busted this bubble of feeling like we need to, you know, to curate our identity based on certain standards. And we don't have to do that shit anymore. And it's okay. We don't want to.
Well, it was going strong when I left. What did you shut it down last night?
We were there. We got kicked out. Kello had to like do the whole, everybody has to go. It's after 9. And there was a couple of other, you know, heavy voices in the room that were like, y'all get the fuck out of here. It's time to go. So yeah, I mean, people were still like bumping into the door to try to, you know, stay in their one-on-one situation and conversation. It was phenomenal. I even saw people standing outside of assembly, you know, talking after they already locked us out.
I'm sure there was an after party. I heard there was an after party.
I was at Only You at the Veil.
Oh, yeah. That's what I heard. Yeah.
Where's that?
Have y'all been there? Only You.
I was getting the scoop last night about it. I had never been.
Where is it?
It's in the Veil Brewing Company. It's upstairs. Colonial.
Where's Vale?
Colonial Avenue, Norfolk.
It's a railroad district, right?
Yep. So inside of a brewery. It's like a bar upstairs. My friend Keegan is actually one of the bartenders. She's actually I think she's like a partner with the guy who owns it. It's a really cool space. It's really cool.
It's around, I think it's around 21st.
It's 21st and Colonial. It's like 23rd and Colonial or something like that. It's right after the railroad tracks when you're on Colonial. Past Yorgos. Right near.
The Norfolk Chop House used to be in that building. Loved that place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. New spot. Dinner day. Or day.
What's 24 looking like for you, love? What you got big plans?
So I am moving into this like more consulting space. I of course am building somewhat of a loose exit plan, just to mastermind some other things as it pertains to culture. But yeah, this year I want to do more business consulting. At some point, I want to look into a program to get my master's in business psychology. And yeah, I'm just going to kind of let the wind take me in that direction, and we'll see what happens from there. Culture.
Yeah, what's your thoughts? The whole business psychology aspect is super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What is any particular thing guiding you in that direction that's drawing you that way?
Yeah, so organizational psychology, how companies are having to hire and create a culture around our current workforce and how they're going to do that with so many entrepreneurial minds. Also, I'm interested in like traditional branding and nostalgic branding and how people relate to different colors and the psychology all around that, customer service, all those things are like super intriguing for me. And really developing a program for emerging entrepreneurs to be able to have opportunities to own franchises for a certain period of time so they can know whether or not it's for them or if they want to continue to journey into spaces where they can learn and gain that. So so yeah, that's like I want to build like a whole, personal development plan around just learning more about the psychology of business and how I can improve culture based on that as well.
I mean, you can make the argument that business psychology, the psychology behind the business is the single most important thing in a business.
It is. So
yeah. I mean, because you have to convince someone to do all these things. Mm-hmm. But there's so much to it, and it's the story behind it. There's just so much. It's a powerful thing. It's the most powerful thing. Yeah.
And I can say that the back end of culture definitely needs a lot of work because I've been just learning and just kind of letting things seeing how things kind of flow before I make any changes. Because I think the worst thing you can do is continue to try to change little things so often that eventually you lose trust in the process because you're trying so many different things. Of course, I believe in trial and error, but like for example, Selden Market location right now, I have to make some adjustments in order for our business model to work there. And I had to sit in this for a little bit. Like, man, I wonder if this is like my biggest failure yet, is that I couldn't even successfully execute a second location the way I wanted it to. And I had to be honest with myself. And so it's like, okay, cool. This is something that I probably need to develop a little bit differently, but it has to be able to still fit into the current model that exists. So it can't just be like, oh, I'm shifting these things, but now I have to buy a whole new menu's worth, or I have to do a whole new process for this because now that falls on my first location. So it's like so many things I have to consider. And then the downtown is just a beast. Like, people, like I have to learn this whole new customer base because they're like, oh, it doesn't take 5 minutes. Okay, bye. Going to the next, like it's just not the same customer as the Virginia Beach location. So now I have to understand market research on these different areas that I'm scaling my business into. And does it fit? Am I going to go into another downtown location in the future where we can't be as personable, or we can't have people come in and we can't run events the way we want to? We can't. So I have to think about these things. Like, is that in the trajectory of my business?
The only thing I can recall about what you're saying is I can't remember who told me this, but they were like, we are a one-turn lunch, a one-turn dinner, which means like you get they're not doing like 2-3 turns where there's a bunch of people waiting outside. And so that is an interesting kind of thought, is that, okay, you're never really at capacity. And that was what they had said about downtown at that point, which is, it is what it is, but it's just interesting to think about that and be like, okay, like, we're a one-turn thing. How can we make that work in the way that we want it to? Is speed something, okay, so people want 30 minutes or less, get to the location, get my meal, eat it, and get back to my office because I only have a 30-minute lunch break type of thing. Those are all little things that you're gonna have to figure out. And maybe the answer isn't that you were a failure in this location. It's that you realize that, hey, downtowns that have this type of demographic aren't for us, and here's why, because we do it like this and we need all these other things. And so I don't even know that it's just, okay, you explored it didn't work, and here's why. If you're going to go to another downtown as you expand, make sure that downtown has several layers to it that match
Mhm.
more of what you've done at your other location, because you've expanded from, small little back of the room to, your own location to a second location. So you've taken risk and expanded over the years.
Mhm.
I wouldn't just immediately jump and say, hey, like, this isn't working. It's like, well, maybe I knew it wasn't going to work, and maybe it is. Maybe it still will work to the way that you want it to. It's just, you got to figure out how to have the quick and easy mode.
Right. Right. And we do have an efficient like system for preparing, but it's the interactions, and it's we can only as personable, and we really weren't off of a personable model. And so yeah, but it's something that it's the kind of challenge that I need to know what my business, how I'm going to set boundaries for where my business needs to be in order for me to feel fulfilled about growing.
Where do you turn to for your sounding board to talk things out and seek advice? Where do you turn to?
Yeah, I have a few mentors, and then also I have like a bunch of people in the business, of friends in business, who we bounce ideas off of each other, or we talk about different market trends that are happening. So I have some people. Yeah.
What's something we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
Huh. What haven't? Oh, books. Books.
By the way, I dig that you are not wearing the same earring on both ears. I just want to make that point. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm different on both sides.
There you go.
So books, right? Like I've been like, I have like, maybe there's one book that's not here that I dare show to the world. But I have 4 different perspectives here, like 3 different perspectives here in front of me, but 4 different perspectives total that I'm currently reading. And the reason being is because at any given time, I need to know how to shift my trajectory or shift my mindset to make sure that, I'm always level headed as much as possible. And sometimes that doesn't happen all the time, especially if I'm going through biological things, or if maybe I'm feeling a little bit more on edge, or I've had a little less sleep or whatever. But one thing that I always try to do is just be a constant. It just be constant, right? And always know what metacognition. Right, Zach? Metacognition?
Word of the day.
That's the word of the day. So the art of focus, Goranga Das. I hope I said that right. But the reason why I got this book and started reading this, and it actually popped up on I don't know if y'all can see that, but it popped up on my bookshelf, and I was like, somewhere along the line I got it, and I started reading it. It was my bathtub time where I started reading this book, and I was like, you know what? I have been trying to figure out this whole ADHD, information, and I'm trying not to consume all these titles and, whatever. But I realized that I do have octopus arms. And so to help me kind of hone in and understand myself a little bit better, I got this book to help me understand my focus and understand the mindset around doing things. And so one thing that I have incorporated over the last 2 years is always having a breaking point in my day where I can just chill, where I don't have to think about anything or anybody. I can just chill. And so that's the art of focus. The hard thing about hard things, this book right here, oh my gosh, this helps me understand organizational leadership. Like I'm brushing my teeth thinking about things that this guy has said in his book, right? Like, managers and people, close friends that he's had to fire in order to help his organization grow, or, just nuggets of information that like are transformative for the mind, right? And just understanding, okay, these are the sacrifices that I'm going to have to make for my business to grow, especially the stagnant parts of my business. And so, hard thing about hard things, this shit is good. Okay. And I actually got this from a cohort that I was in. They had us flipping through the book in all these different areas. And I was like, I'm not doing all that. I want to read this book from the beginning to the end. I don't want to run past a part that I already read. I want to read that book from the beginning to the end. So I am like almost to the middle. I just kind of pick it up. It's one of those reads that you don't really miss out too much if you don't read it every day or whatever. If you just pick it up, you can almost remember exactly what he was talking about before, because the information is just that profound. And then of course, I started this book like some years ago when I first got it. I have not finished it. I'm sorry, Zach. I wasn't there.
That's fine. I think you reading books at the right time is an important thing. And I won't ask you what the password is, because you won't know it. But it's important to know what the password is. Well, there's a password in it to make sure that people that say that they read the book, I can say,
I haven't gotten there.
But
is it on Google?
What do you mean?
On Google?
If you Google what's the God, I hope someone hasn't told the world what it is. That would be really wrong.
Yeah, but no, I have not. But the crazy part is I keep picking this book up, and I'm like, okay, I have two business. That would make me have this book and this book, which I feel like I don't want to read both of them at the same time. So I'm gonna finish this one, and then I'm gonna finish this one, right? Because I know you, Zach. I know you. And one thing I really admire, a lot of things I really admire about you, but one thing I really admire about you is you are a fucking anomaly. Like, I like want to stand in conversation with you and talk to you, and you're like, I gotta fucking go, yo. Like, I got shit to do, And it's like, damn, Zach, can I just get 5 more minutes of your time? And you're like, nope, boundary set. Like, you just have a really strong hold on yourself, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people are still trying to tackle, and some of us don't get to that until we're up in age and we're like, oh, okay, I finally gotten my gold medal to tell you people to fuck off, like, but you got that early on, and that's really admirable.
Well, thank you.
Too true.
That's where we'll end. That's where we'll end the show. Appreciate your time. And I'll give you 5 minutes sometime soon, love. And Tim, good to see you. Thanks for watching.
Love, thanks so much.
Tell your friends. Peace.
Peace, guys.